The opinions and statements expressed in the following program do not necessarily reflect those of WWDB, its staff, or management.
Entrepreneur, author, and financial consultant Mark Bernstein helps high-performing entrepreneurial business owners create a vision for the future and follow through on their goals and intentions. Ange Honorato is a business growth strategist who blends psychology and business together to create conscious leaders and business owners who impact the world. Founders Forum is a radio show podcast sharing the real stories behind entrepreneurship as founders discover more about themselves while providing valuable lessons and some fun and entertainment for you. Now, here's Mark and Ange.
Good morning, America. How are you? This is Mark Bernstein. This is Founders Forum. I have with me on Zoom today Ange Honorato, our co-host, and we have a live...
Morning.
Good morning, Ange. How are you?
I am great.
Good. We have a guest this morning. I'll just say his name real quick before I introduce him formally. Maury Reiter of Kaplan Stewart. And how are you doing this morning?
I'm great, Mark. It's good to be here. And Ange, I'm sorry I don't get to see you, but 2 years ago we couldn't have done this with you on Zoom. So welcome.
This is true, and thankfully we can, and it avoids traffic on the Schuylkill this morning that didn't let me get in there. But yes, we'll have some FaceTime shortly, I hope.
So actually we could have, we just didn't know we could have.
Right.
Zoom's been around a long time, but that's a whole nother story. So this morning I was thinking on the way in about sleep. I think about sleep a lot and health in general. And personally, I'm on a mission to great health, which includes a cleanse that I'm doing this week. So I was really concerned about my sleep last night. Surprisingly, slept very well, the best I've slept in a while. But, it comes and goes, the sleep thing. How about you, Maury? Because I know we've talked about that.
Well, when you mentioned you're doing a cleanse, I moved away from you a little bit. I'll acknowledge that. But sleep. It's always been a problem since we all had little kids. And now, as they get older and they're gone, sleep's a little easier, but then the little ones start up again, and now I don't sleep anymore on the weekends.
Well, I know, you say the little ones, it's true, but my kids are out of the house, but we've been dealing with, unfortunately, my mother-in-law passed recently, so we've been dealing with those kind of care issues. I know Ange has had some mom issues today, which is why she's on Zoom. So there's those kind of things too that come around too. Is there anything you do to sleep when you can't sleep?
I'm real good at the beginning. I'll get in bed at 11:30.
Me too.
I'll look at my phone, and in 5 minutes I'm asleep, and then I'm up at 4.
It's the middle of the night thing.
Yeah, and then I'm just hanging around till the alarm goes off.
Yeah. How about you, Ange?
Yeah. I was just concurring that falling asleep doesn't seem to be the problem necessarily anymore, but it's getting a good restful sleep, staying in a deep REM sleep, not waking up in the middle of the night. And Mark, you and I chatted about this offline, but what I've found has been really impactful for me is we had a guest on, a good friend of mine, a couple of weeks ago who runs a company called Circadian Wellness, and one of his new products is Eons, and it's a functional mushroom coffee, and now he's got sleep gummies as well. And I have been taking them, and there's no CBD, no THC, just no extra sugar, no stimulants or anything. It's just pure functional mushrooms and different herbs. And man, I take that before I go to bed, about a half an hour before, and I sleep through the night like a baby, wake up totally refreshed. And it's only been about a month I've been trying it now, but it's been life-changing. So I highly recommend checking out some Eons smart mushroom.
Well, Alex Wolf, if you're out there, Alex,
big plug.
Ange, a little plug, big plug for what's the name of Alex's brand company again? Because he's all about
Eons, so it's EONS.com, but highly recommend
the big brand.
Check it out. Circadian Wellness is the parent company,
right?
And a lot of health and wellness there. But no, I think lack of sleep or disrupted sleep is really a national epidemic. I mean, probably a global epidemic since COVID, in particular. So interesting topic, and I think we all suffer from it.
There's certainly a lot of it, and we're on LinkedIn, and I've got a lot of sleep consultants that are contacting me all the time. I don't know how they know that. I guess they see me on the computer in the middle of the night and they figure I'm a good candidate. So I don't know. But
so it's stress-based to some extent from what I'm hearing. Okay, well, that's a good point.
Yeah.
And there has been a lot of that over the last couple of years, certainly.
Right. I think I know my sleep patterns since COVID changed completely. So I think there's got to have something to do with that, I would think. Anyway, pretty soon we're going to maybe start taking call-ins, and we would love to hear your feelings on sleep. But you can contact us on WWDB's website, and we can have further conversations if you'd like to about that. So anyway, Maury Reiter, I'll officially introduce him. He is the managing principal, actually, of Kaplan Stewart, which is a 27-year-old law firm in Montgomery County, one of the larger law firms in Montgomery County. And Maury, why don't you tell us a little bit about what your firm specializes in and what you do?
Sure. So we're a business firm. We're a commercial firm. It's easier to say what we don't do. We don't do the criminal work. We don't do divorces. We pretty much...
No personal injury.
No personal injury. So you're not going to see us on commercials on television.
No billboards.
No billboards. None of that, because we're not allowed to, unfortunately or fortunately. So we represent businesses and people who are involved in commercial enterprises, whether it's real estate, corporate transactions, commercial litigation, zoning, all of those kinds of things that we do, and then wills and estate planning.
So to a large extent, you're a business-to-business law firm.
Well, yeah, in the estate planning area, I would say we're as much business to consumer as business to business, because a lot of them are just individuals who maybe they're done with their business and decide they need to do some planning or whatever their livelihood was, or they've had kids, now they need to do some estate planning. So we'll get involved with them as well.
And full disclosure on that, I'm very familiar with Maury's estate planning practice and their department, as we intersect a lot in our financial planning practice with his firm, and they do a great job in that regard. So Maury, tell us about your pathway. I've known you most of those 27 years, if not all of them, but I don't know exactly how you got where you are. I don't think we've ever really talked about that. So
yeah, and we both look the same from 27 years ago too, don't we, Mark?
Exactly.
Which is scary to think about what we looked like 27 years ago.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, my start is really nothing unusual. I'm a Philly guy. Grew up in Philly. Lived in West Oak Lane and went to Northeast High School, and decided I wanted to be a lawyer. But before that, I said I wanted to really work. I just couldn't go right to school, so I ended up working as an accountant. Got my CPA license, and then said, okay, I've done 2 or 3 tax seasons. That's enough of that. I'm going to go to law school, and then I ended up at Temple undergrad, Temple Law School, and so like I said, I'm a Philly guy, but I'm not that Philly guy who advertises on the billboards for the personal injury work. But that's where I've been my whole life, and what I've always wanted to do was do law, and I actually was a tax lawyer when I started out, and worked for a firm that did tax shelter work 2 years before all tax shelters went away. And in 1986,
around 84, right?
Right.
Yeah.
The 84 is when I started. In 1986, the Internal Revenue Code changed and basically got rid of all that. So I had to move on from there, and I did. That firm went away. Right before it went away, I left. So I had a premonition, and I went to...
Maybe you helped to go away by going away.
No, I was, yeah.
Okay.
The reason I got hired for that job, I was playing for their softball team while interning, and I hit a home run. And the managing partner of that firm, when I crossed the place, said, "You want a job?" And listen, I'll take them any way I can.
That's
so
right.
I took it.
So it was your athletic prowess that was the
No,
beginning?
it was just the lack of everybody else's athletic
Okay,
prowess.
there you go. There you go.
That I was being measured against.
A star amongst
Yeah,
slubs.
whatever they were, yes.
Right.
Yeah. So then I went on to another firm and left that firm, and 6 months later, that partner there ended up in jail. So I just left a trail behind me, but ultimately ended up with a firm in Bluebell. And 2 years after joining that firm, it broke up, and 5 of us started our own firm, which now became Kaplan Stewart 27 years later.
I met you towards the demise of that former firm.
Yes.
Yeah. So you've been the managing partner for a long time, and we discussed the reason for that. The reason for that is...
because nobody else wanted to do it.
Right.
I negotiated the breakup from the other firm, and I was an accountant. And everybody thinks that if you're an accountant, you should be able to run a business. And to some extent, as compared to lawyers, that's probably true. So they asked me to manage, and I did, and that was from day one, and that was January '97. And I still haven't found anybody who wants to push me away at this point, and, but I'm looking.
So you are, I know you pretty well, a little self-deprecating, a little not quick to give yourself compliments, but I've seen the growth in your firm over the years, and so you've had a lot of success. What skill sets do you think you have that contributed to that success?
Well, I think that being self-deprecating is, to some extent, one of the skill sets. I'm not a believer in rah-rah and giving speeches. I'm more a believer just doing it, and doing it right and well and respecting people. And I think you do all those things, people will return the favor. And that's kind of been the way I've approached it. I'm very happy. We have phenomenal workers. All our support staff are great people, and we need to let them know that. And we're there to help them, not hurt them. We're not there to tell them what to do. We're there to ask them what to do. And I think that's an important aspect to this.
This might be a good lead-in, Ange. I know you have some questions for Maury around the human capital aspect of the firm.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, more interesting, it looks like we had parallel time frame. So I've been in sort of the executive search and human capital assessment management business for about 27 years as well. And I love what you just said there, which is, we ask our people what to do. You include them, it sounds like, in part of the overall business process. And in today's language, I would refer to that as being, you've got very much a conscious leadership framework. It sounds like you're very aware and inclusive, and allowing your people to be part of that. So I'm just, I'm curious, particularly 27 plus years ago at the beginning, what do you attribute that to? That ability for you to be aware that your people are an asset, and they're not just a resource, and they're not something particularly to be overworked and overbilled, and only as valuable as many hours they build. How did your company develop the culture it has, and really embody and incorporate that sort of approach into a business from a human capital perspective?
Yeah, that's a great question, Ange. And I'm not one to sit back and just kind of think how I did things in the past, but I have had those conversations with myself as well as my wife at times. And I think you just have to remember where you came from. I used to be those people.
Yeah.
I mean, I started out, putting financial statements together in the copy room when I was an accountant, and even practicing law. I cleaned offices for 2 years when I was in college. I mean, we were those people, and we still are those people. We've maybe gotten more educated, and we've done some other things, and we're able to make some more money and have some more success. But we're still come from those people, and we're no better than those people. And so I just think it's understanding that and relating, real relating, not like fake relating. People can pick that up pretty easily, I think. I really feel that way about the folks, and as well as the younger lawyers and my peers, that we've all worked really, really hard, and we continue to work really, really hard. And if some of them aren't working, those are the ones I will talk to. But if they're all working and doing their best at whatever their jobs are, I'm just going to thank them and help them any way I can. And I think people understand that. Hopefully they understand it. We've had really minimal turnover in our firm, and I'm really proud of that. And the fact that we've been around for 27 years, and I'm really proud of that. And to me, that's the legacy, and it'll keep going.
Yeah, I'm really so excited to hear that. I think, particularly in a professional services firm, different industry, but I've come from a similar, area where it can be very challenging because you've got people that kind of sit that partner table, if you will, and you don't always find that mentality of what you're speaking, right? It's almost, I've made it here, and there's hierarchy that often sets into those environments.
I can also tell you, too, from having come from a law background and worked at a sweatshop, that it's not uncommon. What you described you don't want to be is out there. I mean, there are firms that operate out there, although I think there's a big awakening across America and across the world from an HR and from a human capital perspective that I think it's changing, but I think you were well ahead of the curve on that. And with that, this is a great time to take a short break, and we'll see you in a minute.
Hi, I'm Vivica Fox. Every year, millions of animals lose their homes and end up in shelters. Learn how to help animals in need of rescue and adoption at AmericanHumane.org and be a hero to our best friends in their worst times.
Hello, we are back at Founders Forum at WWDB in Philadelphia with our guest today, Maury Reiter of Kaplan Stewart. And Maury, wanted to ask you about, obviously a lot has changed for everybody over the last few years. So the pandemic and COVID, how did that impact your firm and what has changed because of that?
Well, I think we'll look back at some point and really kind of draw the demarcations, but clearly, we used to have 65, 70 people in our office every day. We now have all our support staff, but maybe, 5 or 6 lawyers on a regular basis, me being one of them. And so just from that very stark difference that there's people in the office and there's a lot of people not in the office. So we had to we were always, in our firm, we've always pushed technology. We've always been big on that as a law firm and providing service to the clients. So we always had that technology piece, but we had to put it on steroids when COVID hit. And everybody jumped in, our staff, our IT people, they all jumped in, and we were more productive during that 2-year period in terms of hours and work than we had been before. So it's hard to complain with that going on. On the other hand, there's the deficiencies. It's hard to teach younger people what you do and how to do it when they're not around you. I'm old school. I will acknowledge that. I like sitting down with people, going through their agreements or looking at a plan and working together on it face to face. That's not what is done today. And so I've tried to change my way, but it's not going to be perfect, even close to perfect. So there's been that stark change as well. How do you train your people? We've had to learn how to do that differently.
Are you doing that virtually now? Is that essentially?
Yeah, we have to because folks aren't coming in. And, we've suggested that there be more time in the office, but we're not going to order it because, to be perfectly honest, there's a firm down the street or 2 miles away that will say, work virtually. We don't care. Right. We have good people. Right. We don't want to lose them, so we'll accommodate them.
Right.
And that's what we're doing.
How about from the social aspect of not being in the office? Mm-hmm. I know that's something I've always had growing up in my first in the law and then in my business and being around people. Obviously that's missing to a certain extent. Are you feeling that? Is it impacting? Are there people missing that? I guess I would say.
I don't know. It seems like the folks who like working at home and are productive working at home apparently don't miss it, because if they missed it, they would come in. So I don't need to ask that question. I can just see. We try to do firm functions here and during the year a couple times and have people get together, and we all still love to get together, and we're all happy to see each other when we see each other and we have things going on. We're going through a significant computer conversion, so everybody's had to come in to train, and it's great seeing them. But
maybe you're happier to see each other. Not
each other right. Right. We don't take each other for granted, right? Right? It's like what you don't have, you miss.
Right.
So there's that, and it's just going to be interesting to see because business is learning to take this in stride now. It's just part of how we operate now. We still have an office because people want an office, and we're going to keep the office. But I don't know I don't know what it's going to do in the long term as far as training and getting to know people. I know there's people in our office who don't know each other.
So on that, you're in the real estate business to a certain extent. You deal with a lot of developers and people in real estate. Yeah. What do you see in terms of commercial real estate and where that market is heading?
Well, I mean, clearly in the last 8 months to a year, it's gotten difficult. Money is more expensive in terms of interest rates. Terms are much tighter. It's harder to get underwritten for loans. Right. And so deals have slowed down. They have. And anybody tells you otherwise, it's just not what's going on. They are slowing down, and they'll stay slowed down until money gets cheaper and the banks get more inclined to lend. Because real estate depends significantly on the ability to borrow money at a certain rate that allows you to pay what the sellers want for their properties or to build the building you want to build. So it is slowing down. Certain areas are going to be more impacted, and retail being one of them. New homes being built, that's also slowing down. But some things are kind of holding steady.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mark.
Can I
go ahead.
ask a question? Yeah. Sorry, I had an inadvertent mute button issue before, and I had a follow-up. So quick question, or more of an observation of what you just described there happening kind of in the commercial real estate, industry. And I think it's amazing that you're kind of keeping the office available for employees that want it. Is it a topic of conversation at all within the business where I've noticed a lot of companies are thinking about how to sort of turn their current offices into more of a mixed use, so there's offices, but then there might be, part of that office that's used for more community events or, bringing employees together in a different kind of way, just, anything like that sort of helps utilize the property that you do have, or if you've seen that with other clients, because I'm seeing that, hearing that in the wider perspective of companies that are trying to address the needs of the future of work, right? So what does the workplace look like? And not just from a process or technology, but fitting people into it, addressing overall needs. And that includes what you pay for the property and the rent of it, but also how you use it, right? And I'm wondering if that's anything that you're seeing in terms of creating a mixed use environment at all.
Yeah, I again, I mean, there are those kind of niches, but in the wider real estate market, commercial real estate market, they're not going to be able to make, that's not going to be the norm at all. They're going to have to reuse and make other uses of the property. You see what's going on in King of Prussia Mall, for example. They're taking that whole wing and making it into medical office buildings and medical offices. And that's what you're going to see. You're going to be repurposing the existing buildings. You see office buildings in towns now being converted to multifamily housing, residential housing.
And college campuses.
Yeah, same thing. So that's what's going to happen, and that's what's going to happen. And I don't see the old-fashioned office ever being the old-fashioned office again. I just don't. I think people are gotten used to their lifestyle, being home more and being available more for what's going on at home, especially those with kids that are living at home. And I get it. We didn't have it, so I don't know what it is, but I see that they enjoy it, and it's making them, if they're still productive in their workplace and what they're doing, it's hard to complain.
Well, and there's another aspect we haven't really talked about, and that's the fact that work is global now. Virtual assistants. I'm in an entrepreneurs group, and we just had messages going around. Everybody's hiring virtual assistants now instead of, in order to save costs or because their costs have gone up and they're trying to manage expenses. So there's, and that means many more of our employees. It used to be like American Express or whoever had people overseas, but now almost everybody's going to have people overseas.
Yes.
So that's another factor going on. We only have a couple minutes left, but I did want to ask you, if you were giving advice to a younger lawyer or a younger person in your position managing a law firm or a business coming in today, what have you learned that they might learn from?
Yeah, I think the first thing really to manage, you have to have real respect. And I think certainly in my business, the only way you get respect is by actually, performing. You have to work the hours. You have to build a client base. You have to show that you've done it and can do it, and show what the hard work can get you. That will get respect. And then, from there, the rest goes. As I said earlier, you just have to treat people right. But you have to be good at what you do. So if you're going to be in a law field, you have to be a really good lawyer, and you have to go and always try to get your own clients. Don't put your life in the hands of somebody else. What we tell new lawyers all the time, go build a practice. It's not time when you start out, but 10 years into it, start building your own practice, because otherwise you're just working for somebody and you're always relying on them. And I think
be a rainmaker.
Be a rainmaker. It doesn't have to be a biggest rainmaker, but generate some business.
But by the way, I know not all firms necessarily give their employees that advice because they want them to be workers.
And the first speech I ever got from the firm that I started with, one point, was they put everybody in the room and said, "Listen, none of you have to ever go out and get work. We have plenty for you." And I left that firm 2 weeks later. I said, That's not what I was looking for.
Right. That would have been me too. I understand that.
Yeah.
Ange, a closing question at all?
Yeah, I would just, and I love the last part of what you just said there, about developing your people further. And, I would just an end cap, how do you see the future, with AI, in the legal profession? Where do you see that going? It's going to impact, every industry. So just kind of curious there for the last 30 seconds that we have.
Yeah, I listen to MSNBC tell me what I'm going to be seeing, and that's how I get all my information on that, because I know nothing about it. But yeah, I think the only thing I think it hopes and helps to do is make us more efficient and do better service for our client, and let us do it quicker. And if it can do that, then it's less expense for our clients, and that's good for everybody.
Yeah, agreed. Well, thank you so much.
I have a quick anecdote on that, which is business owner I was talking to yesterday had to write a charter for his nonprofit, of which he wants to become on the national board. It was sort of his test, and he had no idea how to write a charter, and he had ChatGPT do it for him, and they loved it.
Oh, wow.
So
Unbelievable.
This is where things may be going.
Oh, my God.
So with that, I think that is our show for today. Thanks for joining us today on Founders Forum. It's a beautiful day here in Philadelphia. I hope it's a beautiful day wherever you are listening, whatever day of the week it is, whatever time of day, because you may be listening to the podcast. Look forward to seeing you again next week.
We hope you enjoyed your time with Founders Forum today and you found value to take with you throughout your day. Join us again next week for another episode of Founders Forum on WWDB Talk Radio, and always at the Founders Forum show page at WWDBAM.com.